Hey guys, ever since I did my empty house tour, many of you have asked me to do like a new house or home ownership or like a home related Q&A. So I thought that would be really fun. And so on my community tab on YouTube and on my Instagram stories, I asked you guys to ask me house related questions. So that's what we're gonna do today. I am sitting outside right now. It is a glorious, like just about 80 degrees here in Vegas, which is relatively cool speaking, since it's been well into the hundreds. It is still early. It's probably going to hit like 102, 103 today, but right now it is just glorious. So I thought I would start this Q&A out here, and then depending on the questions, I guess I'll move around into the home. If I need to point something out, I will do so. So I guess this is a little bit vlog style as well. All right, so I'm going to start with the questions on my YouTube community tab, and there are 39 questions. Thank you guys. And there's also, I think, more than 100 questions on Instagram stories. So I'm not going to be able to get to everyone's. I apologize. So I have a question here from Claudia Garcia. The question is, how are the house prices in Las Vegas compared to New York? How expensive are the HOA fees if you have them? So when I lived in New York, I lived in New York City, which is very different from New York State or Long Island. And when I lived in New York City, I owned a condo. So the cost, the fees, all of that is very, very different compared to home ownership. So I only have that as a comparison. I will say on average, I mean, I'm fairly confident, on average, the square footage, price per square foot here in Las Vegas is much, much cheaper than New York. That is one of the reasons why we moved out here. Within New York City, there's a huge range, of course, depending on the type of building, the neighborhood, the amenities, all of that kind of stuff. But, you know, apartments in New York can very easily be like $5,000 per square foot. You know, if you have a new build and it's a luxury building and, you know, it's just like fancy finishes, all of that stuff. Or you can buy like, you know, an old walk-up co-op, and the price per square footage will be much less, probably closer to like, I don't know, 1,500 per square foot. So there's just a huge range in New York City. Again, I can't really speak to New York, and New York is such a huge state. I mean, there's the part that is close to Canada, there's the part that's just outside of the city, which is very, very expensive also, and taxes are excruciatingly high in New York, unlike Nevada. So there's that difference as well. And in New York, if you own a condo, you have common charges, and co-ops, you have like a maintenance fee. Those are just the different terminology, basically to keep up the building. Co-ops are kind of structured differently financially. But anyway, here, HOAs, you know, are just so much cheaper than what you would pay for common charges in a condo. So in a condo, I don't know, the common charges can be like $1.50 to $4 per square foot. So if you have 1,000 square foot apartment, you'll probably pay $1,200, $1,500 in common charges. Again, it completely varies by building, and it completely varies by like the financials of the building, basically. So that's, you know, that's like a whole other thing. And HOAs here are like nothing compared to that. So again, depending on the neighborhood you're in, it can depend. Your HOA fee could be $50, your HOA fee could be $400, all of which are a lot less expensive than owning an apartment in New York City, all of it. So like I mentioned, it is definitely one of the reasons why we moved out here to Las Vegas, to Nevada. Just real estate prices, at least when we moved here, were much, much cheaper. Prices have been going up, but still just nowhere near New York City. I mean, absolutely nowhere near New York City. Anyway, that hopefully answers your question, and that probably answers a few other questions here. I think I did get some, like, why did you move to Vegas? But anyway, next question. This is from Nadia Zanchetta. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Did you consider a smaller house when looking at homes? Have you adjusted to a spacious house and furnishings at all? So we did consider a smaller house for sure. I really love house hunting. I love going onto Zillow and just seeing what's around and Being that, I'm completely new to Vegas, it was nice to see what the offerings were in the different neighborhoods or whatever. So, when we first started looking, not seriously, but we started poking around and going to open houses was when we first started moving here. It was like, oh, let's see what's available. And it was really eye-opening to see the differences in construction between here and the Northeast. That was really fun, and just the trends that were going on here that I don't think I ever saw like in the Northeast, and vice versa. Not better or worse, just completely different. Anyway, we did consider a smaller house, and it's just the two of us and Miss Butters, and we obviously don't need a ton of space. But I would say, and I mentioned this at the end of my empty house tour, that a lot of what contributed to wanting a larger home was the pandemic and the lockdown. So when we initially locked down in 2020, we were in our rental, and our rental was about 1,600 square feet, which was palatial compared to anything I lived in New York City. And what happened was, in New York, the apartment we lived in was about 1,000 square feet. And when we initially bought that, I was working in corporate America. My husband, was working in corporate America. So we were only home, at nights, weekends, and we had a ton of friends in New York. So we were barely even home, weekday nights. We were barely home on the weekends. And in true New York City style, your home kind of becomes like a hotel. You spend so much of your life outside of it. So when I started working for myself and working from home in New York, the 1,000 square feet all of a sudden became very, very cramped. And I guess, I never really thought about it, but I guess kind of subconsciously I started thinking, like, we need more space. And if we need more space, we probably have to move out of New York City. Can't really afford anything like much larger in New York. So anyway, so when we moved here to Vegas, the 1,600 square feet was, palatial. It was great. I had my own office/studio at the time, and it was just perfect. But when lockdown happened, my husband started working from home as well. And because it was temporary, we just didn't really think too much of it. But it seemed to, and he's still working from home. And, it's been dragging on. And anyway, I thought to myself, if this is going to be not just a temporary, like, okay, you guys are working from home during this pandemic, and then you guys will just come back to the office. I don't think we would have gone for such a large house, but I feel like it's now becoming a trend, this working from home, or this optional, or this kind of flex schedule kind of a thing. And my husband really enjoys working from home, so if he has the choice, he's going to work from home. So I'm like, with both of us working from home, and the idea of having to wear a mask at the gym is just not pleasant. It's hard enough to catch your breath when you're working out without a mask on. That, I've been a member at Orange Theory, and they now require masks when you work out. I was like, I don't want to do that. Not that I don't want to wear a mask when I go there. I totally understand that. I don't want to go there and work out if I have to wear a mask. So I thought, I want to be able to have room for a gym so that I have control over my fitness, which is so important. And it just sort of, these needs and these wants, because of not needs, these wants that I started to think about when I was thinking about a house. It just, a bigger and bigger house started to kind of come into my mind, and I thought, I kind of want a house where, if we continue to lock down, if we lock down again, which is, not completely out of the question, I want a house where I don't feel cramped, or I have the ability to be able to kind of carry on my normal life without too much disruption. So that was a lot of the reason why we went for a larger house. I found it on Zillow, and I just kind of fell in love with it. The interior of it is very different from a lot of the other Las Vegas homes that I've seen. This was a custom built house, not by us. It was a custom built house. And a lot of the houses that we had seen were built a while ago, or if they were new construction, they were by you know, builders like Lennar and Pulte and those really large builders, and they build beautiful homes, but they're all kind of pretty like standard. I mean, you can pick some finishings here and there, and they're all lovely, but none of them none of them took my breath away, you know? None of them were like, oh my God, you know, like this is kind of like my dream home. But when I saw pictures of this at first on Zillow and then came to see this house, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. It's a large house, but it didn't feel overwhelming. There were some houses that we saw that were probably maybe like 1,000 square feet less than this house that felt bigger, that felt, I don't know if it was because of the layout or the sizing of the rooms, but it felt a little bit more, I don't know, overwhelming in a way. I don't know how else to put that. So yes, we did look for smaller homes, but for all those reasons, that's why we ended up with a larger home and even looking at larger homes. So Karen Prinz asks, how many houses did you look at before you found the one? So like I said, you know, pretty much as soon as we moved here, we started going to open houses because there were a lot of new developments here, like I mentioned, from like Lennar and Pulte and all of these bigger home builders. And they would be making, you know, creating these huge developments, and you could just walk in and, you know, kind of tour all the different models, and you could like talk to them about the different finishes, and they would, you know, tell you about their design center and all the options that they had. So it was just a lot of fun. It was something my husband and I would like to do on the weekends, you know, in the mornings or something. So I don't know, I won't really count those because those were kind of fun. And I mean, those were an endless amount of different homes. I don't think this is normal. I think Las Vegas is definitely going, or has been going through a boom, but there's like a new development going up like everywhere, in every single neighborhood, just a lot. And so you can spend a lot of time going to all of these like open houses at these new developments or whatever. So really there's just a countless amount of those. So again, I won't count those. But when we really started to seriously look, and like I said, we decided that we were going to get a house that was, you know, a little bit bigger than the average house that two people need. There weren't that many in the neighborhoods that I wanted. There weren't that many for sale. So we basically ended up staying in the neighborhood where I rented. And we thought about moving to some more popular neighborhoods, some neighborhoods that are, we'll say, like a little bit more established. But we just really liked our current neighborhood. I just really like the location. It's really convenient to the Strip, to the airport, to my mom. So in doing a home search, I was like, this is where I want to be. So I wasn't very flexible in terms of the neighborhood, and so there weren't that many to look at. So we looked at about 8 different houses. Of course, this was the first house that we saw, and then we saw 7 other ones, and you know, none of the other ones even measured up. They were like, oh, you know, this is nice. Like, sure, I could live here. Of course, this is a lovely home. But I was like, I really like that first house. So it was almost like, you know, shopping. Does this happen to you guys? You're like looking for a dress for a dinner or whatever, and the first one, you end up with the first one that you tried on. You like end up trying on like 15 dresses, and you're like, I like the first one. So that's what our home buying experience was like. It was like, we saw this one, I was like, I love this house. This one is really beautiful. Yeah, my husband felt the same way. He was like, I didn't want to like it because this was the biggest house that we saw as well. The other ones were probably, yeah, like 1,000 square feet smaller than this. He's like, I didn't like this one because the other ones are big enough for us. He's like, but yeah, he's like, this one it just feels, again, it's a large house, but it doesn't feel huge. Like, it doesn't feel like really overwhelming. And you know, I really don't know what it is. A lot of it, and I don't know if this sounds crazy, but I think a lot of it is the wood flooring. It's so cozy compared to a lot of the houses here. They use tiling or marble on the floors, and that to me is so cold, and it just makes the space feel, I don't know, almost more like commercial in a way. It doesn't feel very homey. So I don't know, maybe that's one of the reasons why I feel like this house doesn't feel quite as huge. We saw about 8 houses in total, so 7 other houses before we settled on this one. Are we going to get a house tour when you're done decorating? Yes, you will definitely get a house tour when I'm done decorating. In my vlogs, I'm giving you updates as I do them, like the drapery last time, that was like our latest update, and we're putting some more window treatments in. Of course, I'll vlog that. Any new furniture I get, I'm sure I'll be vlogging that as well. But I will do something when I'm all done. I have no idea when that's going to be. I mean, I'm guessing at least another like year and a half out before I feel like the home is furnished and decorated and nothing major needs to happen. I mean, I'm actually going to say probably more like 2 years. So stay tuned, but it's probably not going to happen for a while. So Angela Maria asks, what is the next big project you're excited to tackle? The next one I'm excited to tackle is the closets and any sort of like custom joinery I want done. So the primary closet we definitely need to get done. We're using rolling racks, and we have a dresser out in our bedroom, and our closet is off of our bathroom, so we're kind of going between the two. And anyway, I can't wait to get that done. But you know, all of that custom woodwork, it's just very expensive. And the primary closet is somewhere where I don't want to have to compromise too much. So I'm like, let me just save up all my pennies and just really be able to do what I want, get what I want done in there. So we're thinking we'll probably start doing closets like early next year. So we definitely are gonna do the primary closet. I definitely want like a build out in my office, in my studio, where, you know, I just have like custom built-ins because I really want it to look really finished. I also want to do my husband's office because he has a lot of books, and I just want to put in like built-in bookshelves. Yeah, and we have some other spaces that I think we need, some custom joinery, which I think California Closets can do, all of that. But that is definitely something I'm like really, really excited for, because I feel like it makes such a difference just in, you know, in the living of the home and the way it looks and all of that. It's gonna look so finished and nice. Something that we just finished was the well, there's a few things left, but home automation. And while that's really exciting and it's so much fun, it's like you don't really see anything. You know, it's really cool that I can change the, you know, thermostat from my phone in any room or whatever. Like, that's really cool, but it's not something you can't really see what you've done. So it'll be really exciting to do like closets and stuff. So someone asked, the house seems huge. What is the square footage? The square footage is about 6,800 square feet. I think I mentioned that. Did I mention that in my empty house tour? Anyway, it's about 6,800 square feet. So a bunch of you have been asking about the gym and the water rower. So why don't we go over there and I'll show you my current setup. I don't think it's changed much since the last time I vlogged about it, but let's go on over there. All right, here we are. Let me turn on the lights over here. All right, so this is like the back half of the gym. Again, apologies for the echo. The front half of the gym is kind of crazy and messy. This is all of our like random equipment, like my rollers and stuff. And this is actually where all of our like home automation system is. This is basically where we have been working out. So I've got that bench, I've got free weights, I have a medicine ball. In fact, I just ordered another medicine ball. This is a 10 pound, I got an 8 pound. I did also get 8 pound weights. So these mats are working out just fine. You know, I have some here underneath the water rower. I have some here underneath the bench. And then we have this little section where if we need to jump around, we jump around on this. I put out yoga mats to jump around on. They're just not quite cushy enough. This floor is really hard. I guess my only complaint is because of how these mats are sold. If you configure them differently, like I did for this water rower, it's like just this really long strip, the edging pieces don't fit. So there's like these little edging pieces here, but they're shaped a particular way. Anyway, it's a minor complaint. It's an aesthetic thing. I don't really care. But it keeps the water rower from shifting, and it's worked out really nicely. And I think someone asked, way back when I first vlogged about these, if they leave a mark. They don't, which is really nice. So most of the questions I got about the gym were about this water rower. I love this rower, but I do love rowing. I would not suggest getting one of these until you try rowing out first. Some people don't like it at all. I happen to really love it because it is basically zero impact and you have to use your legs a lot and your arms are involved as well. It's just a really great cardio machine. In terms of which rower, I just happen to love the water rower. I love the resistance that the water gives you. It is a very consistent resistance, if that makes sense. And there's like a few different types of water rowers out there. This is the water rower. I don't know if they're the first ones that came up with it. Sorry, right there, water rower. I don't know if they're the first ones that came up with this, but I just like the wood frame. I think there's a company called Ergata, and they have like a water version now. And that one's supposed to be really good as well, but I just went with water rower. It's the model that I'm used to. This is like the same model that they basically use at Orange Theory, so I just went with water rower, and it seems to be the least expensive. It depends on which kind of wood you get. So I got like the least expensive type of wood, I think. I think it's just called natural or something. And I've been using the water rower, I want to say like almost every other day, but probably closer to like 3 times a week. So I go to Pilates twice a week. And then, well, I just started going back to Pilates twice a week. And I try and work out here like 3 times a week. So I'll do, you know, some sort of warm up on the rower. And then because I'm a member at Orange Theory, in their app, they have at-home classes. So I usually do a HIIT class, which is about 20-25 minutes. And then I'll come back on the rower and continue either to do intervals or I'll just do kind of like a long, easy row, just to kind of keep my cardio up. And that's it. So yeah, I'm such a huge fan of rowing. I used to be a really big runner and I still love running. That's probably still my favorite form of exercise, but it's really hard on your knees, really, really hard on your knees. And I've had so many issues, you know, all of it my fault because I'm not a big stretcher. I stretch a lot now. Paying for a lot of my past mistakes now. But anyway, rowing has really been a lifesaver in terms of cardio for me. And if you don't have the space, you see how it has wheels, you can basically lift this whole thing up so that it sits on this part of the rower. And you can just kind of wheel it into the corner so that, you know, so it's kind of like standing up on its end here. So really convenient if you don't have the space. I have the space, fortunately, and so I can just leave it down. But yeah, that gives you an option if you have limited space. Aaron Hunter asks, what is your favorite space in the new house? Where do you spend a lot of time in the house? So I am sitting at my kitchen counter, and I want to say I spend outside of, you know, when I'm working or sleeping, this is where I spend all of my time. For many reasons. One, it's the kitchen. So I always feel like that's the center or the central part of any home. It's also the only place really where we have chairs where I can sit. So I spend a lot of time here. I don't think that's going to change. Even if we furnish out the entire place, I still feel like this is where I'm going to be spending a lot of time. And would I say this is my favorite place in the house? I mean, I do love the kitchen. I really do. I love the outdoor area, especially now that we got the sectional outside. I love our bed, so I love just laying in bed. I think this area of the house, once I get the new furniture in there, which is coming in December, I think this kind of area of my home is going to be my favorite, just because it'll be cozy and where we spend a lot of time. But I love the staircase and the chandeliers that we have, those shell chandeliers that we have hanging down. I love that. I love the fireplace and the look of the fireplace. That space is sort of like my favorite in terms of aesthetics, but I think I'll have to spend a little bit more time here. I think a full year in the house will give me a better idea what's my favorite, because we haven't been able to use the fireplace. It's just been too brutally hot. But once it cools down here in Vegas, which it does, which is really nice, we're really excited to turn the fireplace on, and yeah, and that room may become a favorite. Again, especially once we furnish it, we can just kind of hang out in there with the fire on. It'll be really, really nice. So I will get back to you. I'll get back to you on what my favorite place is in the house. So I got a couple of questions about interior designers. I am working with an interior designer. You saw her feet in her hands in my vlog, maybe a couple of vlogs ago. Anyway, she was a referral to me. So I have one good friend here in Vegas who bought a new home maybe like 3 years ago, and she used this interior designer and just really, really spoke very highly of her. And I was like, okay, awesome. I didn't think I needed one because I have a pretty good idea of what I like, but I've never had to deal with a large home, a home at all. You know, I've only ever lived in apartments. And so when I started to think about all the different rooms and all the different styles that I like, I kind of started to get overwhelmed. So anyway, I went with my friend's interior designer. I didn't really, you know, interview a whole bunch. I didn't go through a lot of different ones. You know, I went with, you know, who my friend recommended. And she's perfect for me because, you know, she can work in a multitude of different ways, and that was what I appreciated about her. That was one of her first questions to me. She was like, do you want me to just decorate this house? Just kind of tell me what you don't like and I'll stay away from that. Or do you want to be part of the process? What is your style? You know, all these things. She asked all the right questions. And what I appreciate is that she kind of just executes on what I tell her, you know, like, oh, I don't like that, so she'll just stay away from it. Like, she's not trying to push an aesthetic on me, which I don't appreciate because I have, you know, I have a pretty extensive background in art and design, and so I know what I like, and I'm good with colors, I think. Well, I think I'm good with colors. I like my color choices. So yeah, so that's what I really appreciate about her. She's not trying to push her agenda on me or her, you know, her taste on me. And she just really helps me kind of like focus on things. And she points out things that I would never think about. So she's just been really, really great. She's been doing it a long time. And she has another thing that I really appreciate. She has clients with like a tight budget. She has clients with like an astronomical budget. And so she's worked with everything in between. And she's, you know, introduced me to furniture companies that are really like quite economical, like the 2 couches and the 2 chairs I bought from Bassett Furniture, which is another company I'd never heard of, but their pricing is like very reasonable. The delivery date is not great. By Christmas, they said. But the pricing I thought was very, very reasonable. So yeah, she's also not someone that's trying to like just, you know, try to spend my money here and there. So I really appreciate that as well. She's gotten me some really good deals, like the outdoor sectional, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm really glad that I went with her. So I've gotten some questions about cleaning this house. So I have the Roomba. No, I also do have a woman who comes to clean, and she brings someone with her. So she just has me text her whenever I need a cleaning. So it's about every 3 weeks I've had her come, and she's just absolutely fantastic. Of course, I do the touching up in between, and my Roomba. So many of you have asked, Brenda, talking to you. So Brenda asked, have I named my Roomba? And we've named her Rosie, after the Jetsons robot maid. So she's Rosie the Roomba. And she is incredible. So she has finally mapped out the entire first floor of the house, and on the Roomba app you can then put up like room dividers on the map that they've created, and you can say this is the kitchen, this is the family room, and then you can say, you know, Rosie, clean the kitchen, and then she'll clean like where you've put the room dividers in the app. It is so awesome because the kitchen is really where we spend the most time. It's the kitchen. It's the dirtiest. So I have her do the kitchen like twice a week, and then the whole entire first floor twice a week. And it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna have to have the woman that comes to clean. I don't know if I'll have to have her come more often once we get more furniture and rugs and everything else in here, because right now it's still relatively empty, and so we're not producing a lot of dust. But once you get more furniture, more window treatments, more rugs in here, I feel like she may have to come a little bit more often. But we'll see. We'll see how the Roomba does. I'm definitely going to get a Roomba for upstairs. Because I see like little dust bunnies form or whatever, and I just kind of take my Swiffer and clean them up. But a Roomba would be really helpful up there. So I am loving the Roomba, loving the Roomba. I would say if you have areas that are just really flat, because they can't go downstairs. So if you have one of those houses that has like a sunken family room and then a sunken living room and then a kitchen that goes up a few steps, I don't think, unless you want to get a Roomba for each spot, I don't think that's terribly practical. But if you have like a lot of just, like you have a one-story house with like no steps, like perfect, absolutely perfect. So that's the only thing I would say you want to think about in terms of the Roomba. Other than that, it's fantastic. My friend Kat here on Instagram and YouTube, she asked, which is Miss Butters' favorite part of the house? Miss Butters. First of all, I was really worried that Miss Butters is my dog, if you guys don't know. She is half French Bulldog, half Boston Terrier. She's about 16 pounds, but she acts like she's like a 90-pound pit bull. Anyway, you know, with dogs, with pets, any pets, you're afraid when it comes to change and the adjustment period. She took to this house, like she walked in and was like, I own this place. She had no qualms, just exploring, and she was just walking around. She just absolutely loves the space. She loves the backyard. If I had to pick her favorite place, it's the backyard. She sits by the sliding door. She'll look at me, she'll whine a little bit, I'll open the sliding door, and she can't even contain herself when she goes outside. She doesn't walk really or like run normally, she prances. She does this like hoppity running thing every time she's outside. She's just so happy to be out there. She's gotten really comfortable with the pool. At the two ends of my pool, there's a very shallow space where she can actually lay down and her head is still above water. She loves just like going in there, circling, and then laying down. And sometimes she'll just sit just outside in the shade, and she'll just sit there, and I'll, you know, call her to come in. Like, do you want to come in? You know, I'm about to close the door, whatever. She doesn't want to. She just closes her eyes. She just loves it out there, loves the backyard. And the backyard, or getting a home with a backyard for the dog, was a priority for us. A lot of the lots here in Vegas can be very small, especially with the newer developments. Yeah, they can be very, very small. The larger lots always sell out quickly. So anyway, that was like a priority for us when we were looking. I said I wanted a backyard where, you know, a dog could have some fun. So anyway, she loves it, absolutely loves it. Samantha March, she commented, when are you inviting Samantha March over for a pool party / Aries and Butters play date? Samantha, you're welcome anytime. Okay, girl, come on over anytime. You're on the permanent guest list. Let's see. Wow, there's so many. Sorry, this is gonna be really long. I need to know about your coffee maker. Okay. Let's go on over to my beverage center. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a beverage center. It's just where I put these machines because I wanted them out of the way. So we're going into the butler's pantry. And this is where I've got my espresso machine. This is the water boiler that my husband uses because he's a tea drinker. And then we just have this little countertop trash can. So my espresso machine is a Jura, which I believe is a Swiss company. And it's a super automatic, which means you put the beans in here, it grinds them, it tamps them down, and then out comes the actual espresso. So you don't have to do anything other than fill it up with water, fill it up with beans, clean it occasionally, and oh, it's asking me to empty grounds. You know, you just have to kind of maintain it. I love this super automatic espresso machine. If you're looking for something like this where you don't have to grind your own beans, tamp them down, insert, you know, the whole thing, search for super automatic. That's what you're looking for. And this is a tiny one. So it's really, I don't know if you can tell, it's really narrow and deep. So it's meant to not take up a lot of counter space. But you do have to fill it up with water quite often because it is so small. Here's the water tank. You do have to fill it up quite often. In the near future, I am hoping to be able to get a built-in super automatic espresso machine. So it looks like, kind of looks like a microwave, like it's that size. And it's like built in. And so it's plumbed. So I don't have to put in water. You have to put in beans, obviously, and you have to maintain it. But I just think that would be so awesome. That's kind of my dream. I don't know where I would put it, probably in here somewhere. And we have a wine fridge here that I think I want to turn into just a regular, like, mini fridge so that I can put milk in there and, you know, other stuff, but not just wine. And in fact, we don't have wine in here. I don't drink, I'm not a drinker. So we have Pellegrino in here. So this is our Pellegrino fridge. Okay, let's see. Wow, there's so many good questions. Cynthia K. Donate asks, throughout your big move to now, what was your happiest moment / biggest challenge? I think my happiest moment was probably just when we got the keys. If anyone out there has been through the mortgage process, I imagine many of you have, it can be brutal. It can be really, really brutal, especially when it's a seller's market. So it was a pretty stressful process for a lot of reasons. And I feel like there's questions about this, and I actually kind of wanted to do a whole separate video about just finances and money in general, because I think there's so many questions surrounding that. But anyway, mortgage process was just really, really difficult. So I think when we got the keys, I mean, I was exhausted. I was stressed out. It was right after my dad's passing. Like, the timing was just really crazy. Like, looking back, I would say that that's my happiest moment. But again, I was so tired. It was like I got the keys from the realtor and I was just like, yay. Like, that was it. So I would say that was my happiest moment. Looking back at the time, I'm not sure. And then in terms of biggest challenge, I would say, I mean, I think just the idea of owning a single family home, a house, is definitely the biggest challenge. The only time we've ever owned anything, like I mentioned, was a condo in New York City. Very different, very, very different experience. You can call up the super to fix stuff. Minor things, of course, you're financially responsible for your home, but you're still part of a building, and there's still someone there to maintain the building. So it's just a completely different mindset. And, you know, knowing that everything falls to you is just different. Because it's not even the responsibility of it, let's say. I know I have to take care of the lawn. I know I have to take care of the house. If anything falls apart, right, I know it's on me. But like I said, in New York, it's like, I know it's on me, but I just call the super. Here, we're like, is that a plumber? Or do we call, like, we just, you know, it's just so new to us that we're just kind of like in the dark, kind of poking around. So that has definitely been the biggest challenge. So my friend here, Kate the Great Beauty, she asks, what is something that turned out to be more work than you thought it would be? I mean, I don't think I realized how constant it was. I think that there's always something that you're dealing with. And, you know, if we don't have a vendor or workman coming in a day, my husband and I are like, oh wow, like it's so quiet here today. We don't have either the landscaper, our pool maintenance gentleman that comes, my cleaning lady, or, you know, the drapes were being put up. Just, there's like always something going on. And we talk about this all the time, my husband and I. He's like, we both are working from home right now, which is not a typical situation. And like, what do people do when both people or whoever is in the house taking care of the house, like, works? Like, what, you have to take a day off and like do all this. So we're just like, it's just a lot. It's constant. It's just this constant kind of thing. And like, you know, we have like a maintenance thing with pest control. So they come out, well, right now they're coming out once a month, but that's going to go down. And then we have like a constant thing with our HVAC company where they come and they check the filters and they change out the filters, and we can call them if we feel like something's like a little bit off. So they will pop in every once in a while. So I just feel like there's just constant maintenance. So because of that, we have a ton of people coming all the time. So that is definitely, that's just something I just never anticipated or could foresee before actually living here. So I'm getting a few questions about my aesthetic and my, you know, what is my design style and my taste and all of that. So, you know, I appreciate a lot of different types of interior styles. My, you know, Instagram, when I save pictures on Instagram, it's all over the place. But what I want to do was kind of stay true to the design of the house. I want to stay true to this neighborhood, which is not super modern. You know, we don't have like some of the homes lean towards that. Some of the homes lean a little bit more traditional. So I didn't want to go too crazy, but I feel like, you know, if I had a super modern home on the beach or something, the way I would decorate it would be completely different, right? I mean, I think that's normal. I think that's common. So I'm trying to kind of stay true to this home, but also, you know, sticking with what I like. And I definitely have an appreciation for, you know, more traditional kind of interior design. But because this house isn't that, you know, it's not very like New England. So a lot of why I like traditional style is because, you know, growing up in New Jersey / New York, when you go up the Hudson, you see all of these like older, beautiful older homes that have a very kind of colonial traditional style. So I ended up really appreciating that. But that wouldn't really go here. It's not really appropriate with the lighting fixtures and the color, all of that stuff. The house, the neighborhood, Las Vegas, all of that. So as much as I would like to do something like that, maybe one day if I ever got, you know, a cabin or something, that would be great, but that's not appropriate for here. And then I really also appreciate really minimal, clean, modern kind of furniture, but I also feel like that's not very appropriate for this house either. You know, if I had a beach house in Miami, perfect, right? You know, that would be perfect for that, but that doesn't really, I don't know. I don't think I'd be staying true to this house. So for this particular house, I think I was thinking kind of like a coastal living vibe, but that kind of borders on like a shabby chic, which isn't really my thing. And I think it's just in a very kind of broad sense, I think my style is transitional, you know, a little bit between traditional and more contemporary. But for me, really, when it comes to furniture, it has to be comfortable. Oh my God, there's so many good questions. Let me see if I can just answer just a couple more. Why did you end up buying a house? I thought it was easier to have a rental. It is much easier to have a rental. But we wanted an investment. We wanted to invest in something. And I think real estate here in Vegas, while we bought during what people would consider a boom here, we still thought it was a really good investment, considering the reason why people were moving here to Vegas, buying property. It wasn't kind of like a flash in the pan situation. Basically, it wasn't like the 2008 situation where people were buying homes that they couldn't afford. So anyway, I feel like the real estate market here is really healthy, and I think pricing is just going to continue to go up. So we just wanted to get in on it. You know, I've talked a lot about how it's a lot of work and how I was not mentally prepared for how much work it is. But there is something very, very gratifying about taking care of something. I don't have kids, I just have my dog. So being able to take care of something is really, really nice. And, you know, caring for your home, making this our forever home is just, it's really something I'm taking kind of pride in, and it's really great. My husband, who works in finance, he's like, it's a good investment, we need the tax write-off, you know, all those things. How many bathrooms? We have 7 bathrooms, 5 full bathrooms, 2 half baths. So there's definitely a few questions in here. This is not gonna be a short answer, but tips for future prospective home buyers, and someone was asking for advice, they're building a home. You know, all I can say is save all your money, because you're gonna need a lot more than you think. If you're planning on buying a home and you're really gearing up for it, just start hoarding your money, like hoard it in cash. Don't invest it at the moment, just hoard it in cash, because you're just gonna need it. Thank you guys so much. I mean, there's so many good questions here. I wish I could have gotten to all of them. This video is gonna be long enough. But thank you so much for all of these amazing questions. If you guys are interested in my house and the progress and everything, definitely tune into my vlogs. You know, I'm like literally vlogging almost everything, down to my coasters that I bought. I still love these bee honeycomb coasters. So yeah, I'm vlogging pretty much all of it in the entire process. Just give you an update on the drapes. They still need to be fixed. If you recall from my last vlog, there's that spacing over there. Phil, the gentleman who came to install these drapes, he's supposed to be coming back today. So hopefully I'll have an update on the drapes in here. And I asked to see if these could be motorized at all. And it would cost around like $2,500 to motorize each rod, the one here and the one in our primary bedroom that we got the drapes. And I was like, okay, never mind. Because that's the cost of a lot of other window treatments. So we are not going to be motorizing those, but I am going to be getting a valance to put over this rod. I thought it was going to be, I don't know, a little bit more hidden, but yeah, it's a little visible. I think when it's all closed, it's fine. It's just that we leave it open so much that I don't know, it seems a little unsightly. So I'm going to put a valance over this, just a really simple modern style valance. All right, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and sending in your questions, and I will see you in my next video.